Hello and welcome to The Big Picture. The meeting between Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif at Ufa in Russia today marks the revival of talks between the two after a tumultuous year. In this last 1 year, one saw the relationship swing from one extreme to another, beginning with Sharif attending the swearing-in ceremony of Modi and then the last-minute cancellation of Foreign Secretary-level talks, several border skirmishes, with the latest just a couple of days back, among other things. Soldiers on both sides of the border lost their lives in the meanwhile. The meeting coming under the aegis of Russia, which was hosting the BRICS and Shanghai Cooperation Organization meetings, and both India and Pakistan being inducted into the SCO, is also significant. Now with the two leaders breaking the barriers and also announcing some 5 significant steps to resume the relations, it is being seen as a breakthrough in the stalled relationship. We will discuss today what this meeting and the agreement means and where the relations are heading, especially in the context of the Indian Prime Minister accepting to visit Pakistan next year for the SAARC meeting. To discuss this, I have with me Alok Bansal, Director, India Foundation and a security analyst; Vinod Sharma, political editor, Hindustan Times; Siddharth, Varadarajan, founding editor, The Wire.in; and from Ufa is my colleague Akhilesh Suman, who has been covering the visit to the Indian Prime Minister. Welcome to all of you. Alok Bansal, how do you see this, this agreement which has taken place between the two leaders and the meeting itself?
To be very honest, this meeting has been phenomenal because today morning itself, not only me, but most of the analysts were skeptical that there could be a joint statement. We all thought that after this meeting, as has been the norm, India and Pakistan would be issuing separate communique. But when we saw the two foreign secretaries come together and issue a joint statement, it was definitely a big thing. And when we heard the statement, it was even more significant. Pakistan denouncing terrorism in all its forms, not talking of Kashmir, willing to talk on all issues, and then giving military diplomacy, because at this point of time, Nawaz Sharif is extremely weak and vulnerable as far as domestically Pakistan is concerned. The fact that NSAs would be negotiating, DGMOs would be talking, and Director General Border Security Force would be talking to Pakistan Rangers Director General, should be able to control, if not eliminate completely, the violence on the border and line of control. And the humanitarian gesture of releasing all the fishermen within 15 days is again a very, very significant move. And then, of course, from India's point of view, the other two issues, that is of encouraging religious tourism, which encourages people-to-people contact, because large number of Indians visit Pakistan to Nankana Sahib, Panja Sahib, Hingal Raj, Dev Mata, and then Katas Raj. I am not sure about the details whether Sharda Peeth in POK has also been considered for Indians to visit. Similarly, Pakistanis, minorities come to, Hindus come, and many Muslims come to Ajmer Sharif, which is one of the most sacred Sufi shrines in the subcontinent. So this would enhance people-to-people contact, which India has been wanting for a very long period. And coming to, of course, the most sensitive issue, that is the Mumbai trial, I think very significant that Pakistan has agreed to expedite Mumbai trial and give voice samples. Now, this would inform the international community. This will give us an irrefutable evidence as far as the involvement of people like Lakhvi and others into this particular act is concerned. And from all understandings, I think this has been a phenomenal success.
Siddharth, would you agree with Alok Bansal on this, that this is a major success, the meeting between the two leaders, the agreement which have come upon?
Well, you see, I don't think it should be judged as a success for one side at the expense of the other. I think that both Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif have shown some statesmanship, some agility, some courage in trying to find a way to move the process forward. This means that both Modi and Nawaz Sharif have had to abandon certain earlier stands or positions they took, and so it's a welcome development. It's a positive development, and I think both prime ministers, there is enough in the joint statement for both prime ministers to tell their respective audiences that I've come back with something concrete. We should be wary about exaggerating the significance of the statement. This is not the first time that Pakistan has acknowledged the common fight against terrorism in all forms. That's nothing new about that at all. But it's a positive thing that the two NSAs are going to meet and talk about terrorism and all related issues. The 2611, I'm not sure how this voice samples issue will work, because there is no trial happening in India anymore. Kasab has been hanged and finished. So I'm not sure exactly what is meant by the voice samples coming or going. But I think on the whole, insofar as India and Pakistan were not talking, and in the absence of a dialogue, you had very sharp, vitriolic exchange of words between both sides. That will now come to an end. I think this is a very, very positive development.
Okay. Vinod, these vitriolic words being exchanged and things like that, it happened a couple of days back also when the defense minister came out with some statements, quite bravado statements coming out. So all those things you think will now end, and you think that the relationship, the dialogue process has begun.
Starting of the dialogue is very welcome, you see, and hopefully this will lend some wisdom to the no dialogue lobby, which was getting increasingly strong and louder and shrill, and was creating a climate where dialogue didn't seem possible. You see, there's a sense of deja vu that I have when I see this statement, because remember that similar belligerence was demonstrated even when Vajpayee was Prime Minister. In 2001, consequent to the Parliament attack, he had said, Arya Par ki ladai, and then we had deployed 500,000 troops on the borders with Pakistan. And those troops returned after we having spent a fortune on their deployment without even firing a single shot. You see, this is, I think that it's good that Prime Minister Modi has realized rather early in his tenure that coercive diplomacy has limited value, that there is no substitute for dialogue. And if this dialogue was not happening bilaterally between India and Pakistan, there was also a very serious danger of bilateralism getting a bad name from the Indian standpoint and giving handle to the hawks in Pakistan to hark on that same old formulations of, plebiscite and referendum in Kashmir. The centerpiece, according to me, I agree with Siddharth that I'm not very certain about the voice samples, because the courts there have held that voice samples needn't be given, So they'll have to, do something at the level of the judiciary there. But let's see how it works out. But the centerpiece of the formulations that have been put forth by the two sides
today
is the talks between the DGs of BSF and Pakistan Rangers and the DGMOs. Now, you see what was happening for the past many years, that the kind of violence that we used to see on the LOC, and and this was politically exploited by the BJP rather mercilessly to promote its religio-military nationalism, which reached dividends in the electorally. Now, this was continuing, and nobody was willing to stand up and say, look, this is not a terrain where people go and do bhajans and Anup Jalota bhajans and all. It's a very punishing terrain, and excesses are committed by both sides. If there is fire from that side, fire is returned. And, the new government, for whatever reasons, I thought were not very wise reasons, for the first time they said, we have given orders to the security forces for the first time to return fire on the LOC. But today, I was there in another program where General Malik was there, and he said that Prime Minister Manmohan Singh told us to return the fire wherever we felt the need. So it was, what you see is government in continuum. And may I tell you now that when Prime Minister Manmohan Singh met former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, met Prime Minister Modi in the early part of June, Pakistan had come up for discussion insofar as my knowledge goes, and the former Prime Minister had advised the the current Prime Minister to not to keep the channels of communication open, even if the state of play in bilateral relationship was not all that good or encouraging. And Prime Minister Modi had agreed to that, according to my information.
Today's meeting is a...
So I think that the value of dialogue has been established once again, regardless of how complex the relationship is. It has to be resolved.
It is a complex relationship, but Alok Bansal, why do you think... First of all, why do you think this meeting took place at all? What were the imperatives or compulsions for it?
Before that, I just want to make a statement. I tend to agree with Vinod that there's no substitute for dialogue and dialogue is always desirable. But I do not agree with him that coercive diplomacy has no role. In fact, even during let me make it very clear. Even during Parakram, it yielded. When the troops were mobilized, initially Pakistan yielded, but I think we continued for too long, which was not required. But even now, the operations along Myanmar, along Manipur and Nagaland borders have created an influence. And why these talks took place, it actually emanates from there. The first point is that at this point of time, Nawaz Sharif is extremely vulnerable and weak. The way his defense minister made a statement before he came up for talks and people denied linkages even between Jamaat-ud-Dawa and LET, which is actually well known to any individual in Pakistan, showed how vulnerable and weak Nawaz Sharif had become. Knowing that his Prime Minister is going to discuss with Indian Prime Minister or Defense Minister makes a statement about... Having said that, this sort of a statement coming out now after meeting them, that shows that there is some amount of tacit understanding and concurrence from the GHQ. Now, this is very significant. Why I find that this statement is different from the previous statements? Because similar statements have also come whenever the two Prime Ministers have met. But earlier, possibly, it was a political decision, but at this point of time, Nawaz Sharif is in no position of taking a decision without actually the concurrence of GHQ. So at this point of time, this statement coming shows that General Raheel Sharif has concurred. Now, why this statement has come, I think, for two reasons. One is the Pakistan...
No, why not just the statement, the meeting itself?
The meeting itself, I think, took place because I think as far as Prime Minister Modi was concerned, he wanted to show it to the international community that he is not a hawk. He wants to go the extra mile. He wants to walk the extra mile as far as peace is concerned. And he approached them. Secondly, as far as Shanghai Cooperation Organization is concerned, fighting terror is one of the major agendas for this organization. And I think it was essential to show to the community that we are willing to go ahead and talk. And if Pakistan had actually retracted or had not come out, probably it could have been painted in a wrong light. But more significantly, within Pakistan, I think the army realized that Zarbe has been going on for 1 year plus. They have still not achieved their objectives. Their army is still deployed. The operations in Karachi are going on. There are tumult in Balochistan. And China-Pakistan economic corridor, which they are talking of, and talking of $46 billion investment, that cannot become a reality without peace. And that peace cannot come without...
Okay, that's interesting. That's what I know. Siddharth, so you think that the role of Russia and China in this, bringing India and Pakistan both into the SCO, you think that that has played some role in bringing Modi and Nawaz Sharif together and being the reason for this meeting, or you think that you cannot connect them?
No, I wouldn't connect them. I think that this is I'm sure that Russia and China, along with other friends and well-wishers of both Pakistan and India, would have been urging both Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif to stop this downward slide that we've seen over the last 6 months. So undoubtedly they would have received advice from Washington, Moscow and Beijing, and perhaps even Pretoria and Brasilia. But I think what's driven this rapprochement or this new process is at the end of the day a recognition by the Prime Minister of India that not talking is unleashing or has unleashed a negative dynamic in the bilateral relationship, which is not conducive for the development agenda that he wants to pursue. People often forget that relations between India and Pakistan are so accident-prone and so fraught that dialogue is important not just in order to make a breakthrough, but sometimes only to remain still. Because if you don't talk, chances are that the relationship will deteriorate. And that's what we've seen in the last 8 or 9 months with the Raksha Mantri on the Indian side, the Wazir-e-Difa on the Pakistani side, making very sharp statements. We saw General Sharif also making a comment in response to something quite loose that Rajavindra Rathore, the junior INV minister, made after the Myanmar operation. So there's been this very unhelpful jingoistic rhetoric which has thrived in this climate of tension. And I think Modi, I hope, has recognized that you can't have a vacuum for very long in the relationship between India and Pakistan without negativity and vitriol rushing to fill that vacuum.
Okay.
And so that's what we've seen, and I think that he realizes that one needs to change and be more proactive and to actually start talking.
But what about the compulsions of Nawaz Sharif?
I don't see, quite frankly, Nawaz Sharif having made any fundamental change. The Pakistani side always took the view that they wanted to talk, and they were not the ones who were specifying conditions. So Pakistan has always been ready to talk. If you look at the last 8 or 9 months or last 1 year, it's Nawaz Sharif who took a gamble to come for Modi's swearing in. He then agreed for the foreign secretaries to meet. So I don't think he's the one who's done a U-turn. In fact, I would say he's running a bit of a risk, because if you look at the optics in the UFA statement, there is reference to terror, but there is only an implied reference to Jammu and Kashmir via the line in the joint statement that both Prime Ministers agreed that they need to resolve all outstanding issues. There's a phrase of that kind,
right,
which is a code word for Jammu Kashmir, but there's no explicit reference to J&K. So there will be people in Pakistan who will attack Nawaz Sharif for releasing a statement which does not have the K word.
Absolutely.
But I think he can point to his audience that, look, I've managed to shake Modi out of his no talks stance without dropping anything, without conceding anything. So that's why I think the statement is clever, because it allows both Modi and Nawaz Sharif to point to something that they have achieved in order to justify this meeting,
okay,
and what's going to follow with their domestic audiences.
Okay. I think we have Akhilesh Suman now on the phone line, actually. Akhilesh, so what has been the atmospherics there? You heard our panelists here in the studio talking about it. What is the sense that you are getting that this meeting between Nawaz Sharif and Narendra Modi, was it something which has come out of the compulsions between the two countries, or you think that somewhere China and Russia have played a role in this?
Girish, certainly a week ago we were speculating that there might be a meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. But the Foreign Affairs was also always telling that there is nothing like that, there is nothing surety. A day earlier also, we were talking that whether it is certain. They were telling, we will tell you when it is certain. Yesterday evening we were told that yes, they are going to meet. So I think what was the delay? Delay was that if they meet, even if they meet, what will be the outcome? They must show outcome, because they are going to meet in the SCO anyway. In SCO, both the Prime Minister of India and Prime Minister of Pakistan were going to make a statement in the plenary session and also in the restricted session. So I think it was in consultation to create a good atmosphere. The SCO members might have prevailed upon Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. But I think the exercise was going on for a long time, that how long this type of silence and this type of disconnect between India and Pakistan will prevail. Girish, in the meantime, when we go to the agenda of SCO, you see the energy, connectivity and terrorism are the three major issues that SCO is going to deliberate upon. And President Putin in the very beginning has told that these are the three core areas of the SCO along with other cooperation. So I think Prime Minister must have thought that you cannot get connectivity without the help and cooperation from Pakistan. And I think this has revealed upon the good offices of Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs that they have come to the conclusion in a joint statement, because it was also surprising for us that some of the television channels, we were on the Pakistani side, some of were in the Indian side, and both were communicating with each other whether someone is going to tell. But it was a surprise that both the foreign secretaries came together in the place where Indian media was to be addressed.
Okay.
And it was really a good surprise to hear from them that they are...
Akhilesh, okay, Akhilesh, stay on. I'll come back to you. Vinod, isn't that interesting? The atmospherics there on the spot?
You see, two things. Our Prime Minister...
And Akhilesh thinking that maybe there has been some amount of nudging on the part of Russia and China.
May I say one thing? This kind of a statement is not an overnight job. It takes weeks to come to an understanding on this kind of a statement. And surely there was back channel activated.
But why that, hesitation to announce a meeting till the last
because there is, many a slip between the cup and the lip insofar as Pakistan is concerned and India is concerned. Significantly, after India cancelled the Foreign Secretary level talks on the Hurriyat meeting question, it was a consistent position of Islamabad that they have called off the talks, so they should initiate the process. And the Prime Minister, in his wisdom, initiated that process. He made a couple of phone calls as well, and one was as early as in the beginning of the Ramzan period. So, some effort was made to make the atmosphere less tense. And then India offered talks, and it was very evident from the optics that our Prime Minister was waiting, had already reached the venue of talks, and then Nawaz Sharif walks in. So surely this happens when you are the host, and the other side has been invited. That is one. The other point is that I personally feel, and I have been following the developments in Pakistan with regard to their thrust on the Western Front, and some of the biggest skeptics on Pakistan, on army and its role historically in that country, are now saying that Raheel Sharif is doing a fine job in taking on the people and the groups the political class in Pakistan was wary of taking on. And this whole China entry into, this was going on for long, the economic corridor, has given a new impetus to and hope to the people who are worried about the economy there. I may like to inform my friend that Nawaz Sharif is not vulnerable in relative terms as he used to be until 6 or 8 months back, when there was a huge dharna by Tehreek-e-Pakistan, this Imran Khan, and by Tahirul Qadri, that he has weathered that storm. And on the question of the aggression against the groups active on the western border, and on the question of making tenuous movements for dialogue with India, they are on the same page. It cannot be that they are not on the same page, and this statement has happened. By the
the army and the civilian
leadership, they are on the same page. It suits the army there as well. You see, they can't be opening 20 fronts, myriad fronts at the same time. They want to keep the eastern border quiet, which suits us as well. Because if we, as Siddharth was saying, if we have to really push our economy to the heights that we are desiring, then we need a tranquil neighborhood.
Absolutely.
That is where the centerpiece of this statement is the DGMO dialogue, is the dialogue between the forces that guard the borders more often than the army does. And this perhaps is the only hope. But may I tell you one thing? Prime Minister Modi himself has taken a huge political risk. And he'll have to do a lot of explaining to the opposition and to his own party people on his return to India.
Already the opposition have started, criticizing this whole thing. Alok, what is the next step from this? You think that this will pave the way for resumption of a comprehensive dialogue?
See, it could set a time frame for the resumption of dialogue, which is already starting. But what is important is, from India's point of view, that you need to create stakeholders in Pakistan. And I disagree with Vinod on this issue that Nawaz Sharif has strengthened. He was weakened 6-7 months back. He's not as strong as he was 2 years back or 1 year back. And he's
But how does it matter? How much does it matter?
It matters.
How much does it matter?
No, it matters a lot because he cannot take, because Nawaz Sharif personally would like improvement of relations with India.
No, but if he was weak, why would he have done, how could he have done all this?
That's what I'm trying to say, that this statement has come, this meeting has come about because GHQ wanted it. Now, GHQ at this point wanted that India and Pakistan should get together.
So your contention is that he is a puppet of the GHQ still, and he will continue to believe.
No, absolutely.
No, you see, it's not proper. When you are engaging bilaterally, and Mr. Bansal would know, when you are engaging bilaterally with a sovereign country, it is not proper for anybody to call the Prime Minister a puppet. The point is that there are dual powers of centers of power in Pakistan. We all know it. And AFPAK and India-Pak and in the US, they have been squarely in the domain of the army for a long time.
Okay.
It's not a new,
Okay.
not a new
We have seen how the whole thing has
we take great delight in calling somebody a puppet.
No, I did not call him a puppet, but let me make it very clear. Asif Zardari's statement which came, it showed how much the army runs Pakistan.
Okay, I mean, Asif Zardari, Pakistan has come.
Clear about
Pakistan has come.
After Tahirul Qadri and Imran Khan, army runs the roost. In fact, Nawaz Sharif listens to what General Sharif says.
It's okay.
You are actually, by raising the voice, you're raising suspicions about the Prime Minister's wisdom to go into this dialogue.
Vinod, Siddharth, so you think that this could pave the way for some kind of a comprehensive dialogue? Do you think that keeping Kashmir out of today's statement was a wise thing?
You see, we can proceed only if there is clarity on the Indian side that when we say we are ready to discuss all issues, we will actually deliver on that. That we will actually discuss and not hesitate to discuss issues that Pakistan wants to discuss. There's been an irrational fear among some sections in India that talking about Kashmir is tantamount to surrendering a position. That's not the case. I think it was important for Mr. Modi to not have the word Kashmir used in the joint statement because that will help him to manage domestic criticism more easily. And to that extent, I think the Pakistanis have gone out of their way to accommodate him. I think in return, it is essential that the BJP and Mr. Modi in their domestic positioning and their hard sell in India not go on about how they managed to score one over Nawaz Sharif. The dialogue can only proceed if both leaders are sensitive to the vulnerabilities of the other partner.
Right.
So Nawaz Sharif, it is true, would not have signed on to this statement without the backing of all stakeholders in Pakistan, including the Pakistani military. But there is no reason for Mr. Modi to want to make Nawaz Sharif's task even more difficult. And we will do that. We will make it more difficult if we start celebrating the fact that Kashmir is not there and so on and so forth. I think it's important that both sides look at the statement for what it is, which is a step forward. Both sides did a bit of give and take, and that's where things stand.
Okay. Alok, would you agree with that at least?
No, I agree. I am trying to say that it has been a big victory, but we need not celebrate it because I think diplomacy doesn't require that we should celebrate that, and I think that's an absolutely justified point.
So you think, but Vinod, you think that the Prime Minister, when he comes back, will have to explain to his own constituency about what happened, and you think he'll be successful in doing that?
You see, the fact of Kashmir not being mentioned, I mean, it is inconsequential. I mean, in actual terms, because Kashmir has been on the agenda even after we signed the Simla Pact and we said UN resolution stands superseded.
Okay.
Because Kashmir is mentioned as an outstanding dispute even in the Simla Pact. No, let's not get into that. You see, to call this a victory, it is a victory of both countries. It's a victory of peace.
I think on that note we need to. It's a victory for both countries, a victory for peace, and both nations should not become too excited and allow each other to take this peace forward. So we hope that will happen. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture same time on Monday. Meanwhile, have a great weekend.